Hello and welcome to Media Sussex. This is a tutorial for WordPress. We did a few years back and they proved a success, and I just wanted to do a few more to help especially our customers who are using WooCommerce for e-commerce shops using WordPress. This is a WordPress website that we're using. Thank you Daniel Lawrence for letting us use your website. Shout out to his fantastic online store, daniellawrence.co.uk. So you'll see, if you are familiar with WordPress, that you'll see there's just two additional options down here, WooCommerce and products. Once WooCommerce has been installed on your website, it'll have those two, but what you'll also find is that it works with pretty much most themes, most current WordPress websites. So if you'd like to install WooCommerce, or you'd like to have us help you install WooCommerce to make your website into more of a shop, we can do that. But basically, these two areas in the dashboard are the things that we're going to be looking at today. Specifically in this video, when we're looking at products, and we'll come back to this WooCommerce tab maybe a little bit later in a different video. But first of all, once you've installed WooCommerce onto your WordPress website, you'll need to start adding products. If I take a look at Daniel Lawrence's homepage, which is still under development, I should say, you'll see we've started to add some products in here. These are actually product categories. So once you whittle down, there you go, you'll see the actual products themselves. So you can have product categories and categories within those if necessary. Categories and subcategories they're called. But very important really with any shop obviously is going to be populating it with products. So today we're just going to look at how to do that, how to manage the products, how to edit products, how to add new products. So once you've logged into your store, I'm going to assume that everything's been installed for you by a web designer, hopefully by Media Sussex, but I realise that might not always be the case. If you click on products here, if you click on products, click on all products, what you'll see is that it very much is familiar to those of you who are used to WordPress. It looks very much like a list of pages or posts, and if you hover over the titles, much like in pages and posts, you get these extra options. The duplicate one here on the end, that's actually an external plugin that we've installed called Duplicate Pages, which just enables us to copy products, which means that we can add them a little bit faster. Nothing complicated about those, but we won't be looking at that today. Let's just have a look at one of these products. First of all, you'll see along the line they're a little bit different in terms of the content on each row. You've got the option for the SKU, you've got the stock, whether it's in stock or out of stock. That'll turn to red and out of stock if it's not in stock, that is. Price, and then the categories as well. Sometimes, I don't think here it's obvious, but sometimes you can actually have multiple categories as well. Tags. This one here is a little toggle. If I click that, that just means it's featured or not. Sometimes themes utilize the featured products, sometimes they don't, but it is a handy tool sometimes just to bring up those products that you really want to feature on your website. Just click in here, and what you'll see again is very familiar for WordPress users. This looks very much like pages or posts, just the text area. Over here you've got the product categories. These are different to post categories, I should say, and they're controlled over here, something we'll look at a little bit later. But you can add new categories direct from the product as well. Product tags, this is useful if you're customizing or trying to make SEO work for you. And down here, the featured image. This is very important now. Previously, perhaps in posts, featured images weren't maybe so important for you. This is actually really key now, because as you'll see, if we go to mirrors, what you'll actually see here is the product that we're looking at right here. That product image is going to be key. Without an image there, it's not obvious what your product is, and that is really what's going to sell your product. So ensuring you have a good product image here is important. Let me just show you how you would go about doing that if you're adding a new product. This is what it would look like when you were coming in cold. You'd click set product image and you'd upload one, much like you would previously. There's the one that we've done earlier, and that's done. This option down here is if you wanted to add multiple views of that product. Say you have 3 or 4 images for that mirror, you would add them in here. Depending on the theme that you're using, depending on the way that it's presented on your website, will depend on where those gallery images appear. Sometimes they'll appear down here, sometimes they'll appear just with arrows and you toggle through them. So that's the overview of sort of that section over here. Again, this is your main description. This is what appears down here on the product page. Again, this may vary depending on the themes that we're using. This theme today that we're using is Storefront, which is actually made by WooCommerce. It's pretty handy, it's pretty simple, and it utilises a lot of the features, which is why we're using it today. So this is your main description. We can also add here as a product short description, which can sometimes be used and applied up here depending on the theme, but also it can be used occasionally in the multiple product area, perhaps down here, little short description. Not in this theme, but it's worth adding even if it's not used, just in case you change your theme at a later date. This box here, of course, is the main data for the product. This is where you will control prices, inventory, shipping, link products, attributes, and advanced settings. This down here, this option, this one is for Storefront. This is the theme that I mentioned we're using. It's not always applicable, so we won't be looking at that today, but I want to just take you through the basics of a product. So this area is called the product data. The first options that you get is a drop-down menu with the type of product that it is. This one is a simple product, and what that means is, quite simply, there's one price for one type of product, and that's the end of it. If we drop down, there are grouped and external products, which we're not going to look at in these videos. If you'd like me to do a tutorial on that, perhaps you can request that in the comments. We can always come back to that. But what we will look at later is what the difference between a simple product and a variable product is, and how to control that. But we'll come to that later. Basically, the variable product is adding different colours, different sizes, different variations of the same product that may have different prices. For now, we'll stick with simple product. You've got tick boxes here. This is if it's a virtual product. If it's not a physical product and it's not shipped, you can tick that. That'll change. There's no shipping option now. Downloadable, if you're selling music files, perhaps PDF tutorials, something like that, you can tick downloadable, and what that'll do is give you the capacity to add a file here, so that once a person has purchased your item, they will be sent a unique link to be able to download that file that they've paid for. You can set how many times it can be downloaded and if that will expire once they've purchased it. Quite handy to have that built into WordPress and WooCommerce. Not all e-commerce shops do that, so that's quite a cool feature. But today we're looking at physical products, we're looking at home and garden wear. So here we got the general tab, which is the next area. The first one over here, and you've got the regular price and the sale price. Again, pretty self-explanatory. If you wanted to add a sale price, you could. If you wanted to schedule a sale price, what that'll do is it'll turn off the instant sale price. So if I was to save it now, that would instantly go on sale. If I was to schedule it and say from tomorrow for a week and save it, then it wouldn't go on sale until that date, and it would also finish on that date. Just to show you what that might look like on a theme. Again, this is on Storefront. It adds a nice little sale icon there, and also a line through the original price and your sale price there. So it's quite a pretty way of doing it. But that's your general settings there. Inventory, that's your next tab down here. Again, pretty simple and self-explanatory. It depends on whether you're going to be managing your inventory through the website or whether it's an external system that you have set up for your shop. All the information here that might help you manage your inventory is placed within here. Items such as the SKU. You've also got here the ability to manage the stock on the website. So let's just tick that just to illustrate how that would work. By ticking that, you release these extra options, which enable you to add how many is in stock. This one here allows the customer to purchase back orders. So if you are out of stock, but you want customers to be able to sort of pre-order the stock before it comes back in, you can allow that, or you can allow but notify customer, which just gives the customer an indication that yes, they're ordering, but you'll also have to wait for it to come back in stock. And of course here you've got in stock and out of stock. What's worth noting here is if I was to, for example, take 5 and put in stock, you'll see it actually tells the customer how many is in stock. This can be configured within the WooCommerce settings, which we will look at next time, but it's just worth knowing that. Also, it's worth noting that if I was to click out of stock here, it still remains at 5, but the out of stock status just appears to the customer. So this is good if you've got some stock but it's been reserved by another customer, for example, or you sold it physically in your shop rather than online. So that's a useful toggle that works almost independently of the stock quantity. This option here, sold individually, means that the customer can only purchase one of these items in a single order. So that's general and inventory covered. Over here we've got shipping. You can add in your weight and dimensions. This is a good practice to do anyway for your reference as well as for shipping at a later date. But again, it's entirely up to you. Shipping class. This is where you tell WordPress or WooCommerce exactly the type of item that you'll be shipping. You can tell it either it's a small parcel or large parcel in this instance. That's because we've configured some shipping classes in the WooCommerce settings. So I encourage you to watch that video just to understand how the shipping classes are set up. But for now, what we can decide is whether this fits into our small parcel or our large parcel category. Link products. This is where you can add different adverts for some of your other products. You've got upsells and cross-sells. Cross-sells will appear on some themes, not always, at the checkout area of your website. So when someone's checking out, this is useful, for example, if you're selling a product with batteries and you want to sell batteries alongside with them, something like that. Upsells works a bit differently. It'll come up along the bottom, recommending similar products or perhaps alternative products. They're not configured on this particular theme, so I won't be able to show you how that works, but it's pretty simple. By adding your product, you can type in the product that you want to upsell or cross-sell, and you can add as many as you want in there. So once again, upsells appear on the product page, cross-sells appear at the checkout. So that's general inventory, shipping, and linked. Here we've got attributes. At this point, it's not really essential that you add attributes for your mirror. In this case, it's a mirror. What I've done here just to illustrate is how it would look if you did decide to add mirror features. You've got mirror features, this is the title. You click visible on product page. If you have a look on here, additional information, there we go, that's where that appears. I've just added these just as almost as a joke. Hilarious, I know. You've got round, shiny and reflective, just to describe the mirror. What you'll see is this vertical line here, which separates out the attributes. These are actually very important, and you'll see why when we come to the variable products. So it's a good practice, even if you're not doing variables, to add these values with these vertical lines. If you're typing on a Mac keyboard, it's above the right hand shift key next to the return key. The attributes is more suited towards the variable product, which we'll look at shortly. The advanced settings, again, not particularly essential. For example, this is a purchase note. What this does is this sends out a little note to the customer once they've purchased this product, perhaps on their invoice or their confirmation email, just to say whatever you want about that product. Menu order, this is purely so that if you were adding products directly to your menu, if this product is added directly to your menu, then it will decide the order. But it's very rare, I think, that your products will be added directly to your menu. It's more likely you would add product categories to the menu. But if you were to put number 1 in there, that will mean obviously that will be the first item on the menu list. Enable reviews, pretty self-explanatory. This will just enable this box down here, which gives customers the ability to write a review about your product, and you can manage your reviews here. You can actually tweak them, edit them, hide them, or trash them once they've been left depending on the quality of the review. So those are the main settings over here of the simple product: general, inventory, shipping, linked, attributes, and advanced. Like I say, storefront, that's specific to this theme. We won't be looking at those today. So that's the simple product. What I'm going to do now is just tweak this product slightly and turn it into a variable product. You can see by clicking variable, a few things have changed over here. We've lost the general tab, but we've actually gained a variations tab. So all the information that was in the general now comes under variations and becomes applicable to each variation rather than a general rule for the product. This is the inventory tab. You'll see this is still familiar. What you'll notice here is that by managing the stock here, you are in fact removing it from managing stock in variations. So an example of this would be if perhaps you colour the mirrors yourself. So say you're going to offer a black and a white mirror, but you have the original mirrors and they're all exactly the same. And then once an order comes in, you paint it accordingly. That's perhaps when you would add and manage at product level, because here you manage the actual raw goods. Whereas perhaps on most cases, you would change the variations for stock levels. For example, in t-shirts, you have 5 small, 5 medium, 10 large. That wouldn't be useful as 20 in stock because you'd need to know a breakdown of what the variations were. Again, everything else remains the same here. Again, with shipping class, this can be controlled here, or this can be controlled within the variations. Now, the next thing I really want to show you, link products remains the same, is attributes. Here, this is exactly what we saw before on the simple product, but what you'll also see is a new tick box down here, which is used for variations. So what this actually does is this means that instead of it being a descriptive piece of information, it's actually the options for the mirror. Sorry, Daniel, I realised there aren't a gold, silver and black version of this mirror, but just for illustration's sake, I'm going to do it on here. So I'm going to save those attributes. I'm using them as variations here. Click on variations. Basically, if you click on, you can add a variation manually. I recommend create variants from all attributes. It's just simpler and a lot easier. Click OK. What that'll do is that'll create instances for each variant. So gold, silver and black, you can see there. You can add a product image specific to that variation. Again, you get those downloadable virtual options as was in previously general. You also get manage stock, which gives you the ability to manage the stock of that variation type. For regular price and sale price, as before, weight and dimensions, and the ability to change the shipping class depending on the size. So what I'm going to do, just for argument's sake, is I'm just going to add these in here. And here we go. So now you've also got these options here: gold, silver and black. If, for example, I wanted the black to be more expensive, and now it'll show a price range rather than a specific price, which will differ depending on what option I choose. Depending on the theme that you choose, it may display the price of the individual variant. If not, it's a case of adding to the cart and you'll see the price up there. You can add as many variations as you want, and that works not just within one type of variation. So yes, I could add additional colors here, but what in actual fact I can also do by clicking add variation here is also add style. For example, save those attributes, variations, create variations from all attributes. What that'll do is calculate which ones don't exist and which ones do exist and create those for me. Now you've got these as drop-down menus. This is the gold Art Deco one. This is the gold modern, silver Art Deco, silver modern, and that can keep going for as long as you want. What you'll notice here is the ones I added before, because I didn't add a second variable. I can remove those now. And the great thing is that you can add individual prices. So for example, the gold Art Deco may differ in price to the gold modern. You can add that and control that in here. And again, that will display as a price range here, which gives you lots of options to play around with. So that's variations. Everything else remains the same. I think those are the two types of products realistically that you're going to need to deal with. So I hope that helps. I hope that gives you a bit of an insight. If you wanted to add a new product, you can either click here or here. Categories, as touched on earlier, added here under this section. You can add new categories, you can add subcategories. What's really important, I would say, is adding images to your categories, which you do here, or if you want to edit, you can also change it here. But this is important. Say, for example, on Daniel's site where the product categories are displayed on the homepage, these are the category images that they're pulling on here rather than the products themselves. So if you look at accessories there, you'll see that matches that image there. That's pretty much everything that you need to know about the product section of WooCommerce for your website. I hope it's helped. Looking into orders and the way in which WooCommerce works will be the next video, so please tune in and have a look at that, and do ask any questions in the comments and I'll do my best to get back to you. Thanks again for watching. Goodbye.